It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood, from coast to coast, and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me is Dr. Jordan Metzl, a sports medicine physician at the New York City's Hospital for Special Surgery. Dr. Metzel is here today to talk about how exercise can help us stay healthy, heal disease, drop pounds, increase longevity, and transform lives. Dr. Metzel is an Ironman triathlete and a marathoner. He's a regular guest on the Today Show and has contributed to Good Morning America, the New York Times, and National Public Radio. He's the author of the books The Exercise Cure, a doctor's all-natural, no-pill prescription for better health and longer life, and The Athlete's Book of Home Remedies. Welcome, Dr. Metzel. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure, Joan. Nice to talk to you.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the chief medical correspondent at CNN, said about your book, doctors have long focused on the treatment of disease. Now we have a manual that highlights a means of prevention. As Dr. Metzel touts, exercise is one of the world's most effective medicines. Doctor, what does that statement mean, that exercise is a medicine, and what type of science supports this statement?
So the idea of this book is, everybody knows that exercise is good for them. I'm not going to win any Nobel Prizes for saying exercise is good for you. Everybody knows that. The idea of my book is basically to take that argument a step further. Yes, I know exercise makes me feel good, but what is the scientific evidence that exercise is a medicine? And, how do I define that? Well, medicine, is something designed to either prevent or treat disease. So what I did is I started looking at exercise in that lens. And, we have this culture in the United States where we want to throw drugs at problems. So we spend about $375 billion a year on prescription medications. A huge amount of money. We spend almost $2.7 trillion a year on healthcare, despite the fact that we're ranked 28th in life expectancy. So we have this society that throws medications at problems. So if you have high blood pressure, we throw high blood pressure medicine. If you have high cholesterol, we throw high cholesterol at you medicine. You have depression, we throw depressive medicines like Prozac at you. So the idea of this is that, number one, every medicine has a side effect. And number two, what is the evidence that exercise, which is the most available, free, safe medicine we have, works for the treatment of these problems and the prevention of these problems? So I basically went down by body systems, starting with the brain, and looked at, what's the evidence for exercise for the treatment of depression, for anxiety, for sleep problems, for self-esteem, for attention deficit, for high blood pressure, for high cholesterol, for osteoporosis, for osteoarthritis. Some of the most common things we see. What scientific evidence do we have that exercise is a medicine? In fact, the answer is, I think very strongly, that not only does exercise make you feel good, but it's the most powerful medicine across the entire spectrum of the human body. So the concept is, how people can learn about that, and then the second half of the book talks about how they can take that medicine for themselves at home.
So when we talk about exercise, usually we think of it as a preventative method, but you're saying that it's something now that can actually treat a disease. So if we incorporate an exercise program, and we'll talk about what that should look like a little bit later on, but incorporating what you're telling us, can we get rid of some of the meds that were routinely prescribed?
Yeah, very much so. So, what I've done a lot with the rollout of the book, and what I try and highlight throughout that is, different examples where that can be the case. And so at the front of the book, I talk about a woman named Casey. And Casey is a patient of mine who ended up coming to see me with, knee problems and ankle problems because she was running. But the backstory on her is she was about 380 pounds or so, very, very, very overweight, very accomplished woman, terrific person, but by age 47, she'd already had 3 heart attacks. And her cardiologist said, listen, if you don't start changing what you do, you're going to die. And so she started walking, and she lost about 65, 70 pounds from just walking and diet. And then she started jogging, and then she started jogging a little more, and then she started trying some half marathons, and then she started doing marathons. And she's now lost a good 150 pounds from her original weight. She's just a terrifically inspirational person. Her heart is doing well, and we've kind of used exercise for her to change her whole health profile. She's got much less dependence on these kind of medicines for her heart, and she's just generally healthier, and she's going to live a much longer and healthier life than she would have done had she not done that. I also talk about another patient of mine in her 80s who uses exercise to keep her memory sharp, as well as to help treat depression instead of taking antidepressant medications. So there's a lot of ways that people can start thinking about this. And again, I'm not saying drop all your medicines and use exercise. What I'm saying is that exercise should be your first-line medicine, number one, and that I want you to start thinking about using exercise in addition to, and hopefully eventually instead of, some of the medicines you're taking.
What type of exercise are we talking about? I think people have this conception that to have it be effective, they have to run a marathon or they have to do something incredibly intensive. Does it have to be like that, or can it be adding simple movement to our everyday life?
Not at all. So, in fact, it can be just movement. So, the prescription I talk about for people is 150 minutes a week or 30 minutes a day, and that can start in my bronze workout people just with increasing their NEAT profile. So, NEAT is an acronym. It stands for non-exercise active thermogenesis, or just quite simply burning calories from moving around. And it's a great way to start thinking about what you can do, things like taking the stairs or getting a dog, or parking further away from wherever it is you're going, taking your subway stop, an extra subway stop or two. Just building and walking into what you do is a great way to start treating and preventing disease.
Doctor, a new study came out recently that equates sitting with smoking, that's saying it's just as dangerous as if we were smoking, this excessive sitting that our society has. So why is sitting the new smoking? What are the risks to our health?
Well, I think that's the key point here, is that, when you look at the health consequences of smoking, everything from heart disease to diabetes to high blood pressure to high cholesterol, and you look at the health consequences from inactivity, which are almost exactly the same. The only difference is with smoking, you have an increased risk of lung cancer, which we don't see from inactivity, but everything else is almost identical. What have we done to get rid of smoking? All these public health campaigns, warnings, et cetera, et cetera. If you light up a cigarette today, many fewer people are, but if you do, people look at you like, man, what's the matter with that person? They must have a problem. Inactivity carries the same health risks as smoking. And so I want people to think about, listen, I'm not active and moving around. I want people to look at you like, what's the matter with you? Much like they look at you, what's the matter with you if you smoke? That it's the same deal, and it's hugely important, I think.
When I heard about that study, I immediately thought of our children. I mean, our kids today spend all day sitting in school. Then they come home, they sit in front of televisions, they sit in front of computers, they play these video games. What do the findings of this study mean for our children, for future generations?
Health behaviors start young, and health behaviors that start young have future implications for adolescent and adult and elderly disease. And so, problems like inactivity, childhood obesity leads to adult obesity, which leads to diabetes, leads to high blood pressure, leads to heart disease. We spend more than 60% of our $2.7 trillion health expenditure on the treatment and related consequences of obesity. So, being unfit not only makes you less healthy, it costs us a lot more money. So I think both as a society and as an individual, the key is getting moving.
Now, what is the relationship between exercise and our brain function? What does the research say in that area?
Yeah, so the first section of the book talks about exercise and the brain. That's how I start. And it's amazingly compelling information to me on the importance of exercise for everything from memory. Exercise is the only treatment that works for dementia and Alzheimer's. It aids concentration. It improves mood. It improves self-esteem as a result of that. It lessens frequency and incidence of depression. And so these are not just things I'm just kind of saying and pulling out of the air. What I've done for each of these conditions is kind of, I think, found the most compelling study for each of these problems and kind of listed that as the reference point.
And we're talking about 30 minutes a day.
30 minutes a day is all you need to achieve the majority of the health benefits of exercise. Once you get beyond that, the returns are there, but they're not as logarithmic. So the biggest impact you can make is doing 30 minutes a day. Beyond that, everything's gravy.
And what about addiction? I found it interesting that you say there's a role that exercise plays in healing addiction.
Well, if you think about if you've ever dealt with anybody or interviewed anybody that's been in drug rehab or any kind of rehab programs, part of what they do to treat their addiction is use exercise.
Doctor, what are the best disease-beating, life-prolonging exercises that you recommend?
I try not to be too simplistic, but the idea of the book is when you read the first half, so if you're about 150 pages in, you're like, all right, dude, I get it, shut up. Exercise is great for me. Then the second half is, all right, well, how do I set that up? What do I do? And so what I've tried to do is really kind of walk through programs in three levels: bronze, silver, and gold. And the bronze level is basically just trying to build exercise into your everyday activities by increasing your NEAT profile. So NEAT is an acronym for non-exercise active thermogenesis, or just burning calories from cruising around. And things like, parking further from where you're going or taking the subway further, all kinds of things to increase that profile. When you've done that for a while, then I graduate you to my silver, and I talk about two particular kinds of exercises. Number one, getting on a foam roller, which I love. Foam roller is a great way to improve your flexibility. And that helps a lot just by loosening up your muscles. And then the second part of that is on some strength training. So I get people on some different strength exercises they can do at home. And both those things I think are very, very helpful. And then finally in my gold workout, I talk about plyometric-based exercises, jumping type exercises for my advanced level people. But the thing I want to emphasize on this, Joan, is that these are exercises you can do at home. You don't need a gym. You don't need a trainer. You can train yourself in your living room, and I think the total cost, I put it less than $50 to set up your home gym, and it will save you that much money in 1 month, I think, on healthcare expenditure if you start doing it religiously.
Doctor, we have so many people today that are medicated. They're taking drugs for blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, a variety of conditions. If someone begins an exercise program, how does he or she know if they can start to cut back on these medications?
That's a good question, and I appreciate that. And I think the answer to that is that this is not just done, if you're on medicines, it's not just that you're going to say, all right, I'm going to stop taking this stuff and let's see what happens. You are going to stop taking this in conjunction with your doctor. Say, listen, my blood pressure is this, I'm on this medicine, and you talk to your doctor, say, listen, I want to start an exercise program, and let's see if I can start controlling my blood pressure with exercise, and you and your doctor together can titrate down your medicine so you need less and less and less. And the effects of exercise kick in after about 6 weeks, and so within 6 weeks you'll start to see differences and changes.
The book is The Exercise Cure, a doctor's all-natural, no-pill prescription for better health and longer life. Doctor, if our listeners would like to get more information about you and your work, where can they go?
Sure. So you can get the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any bookstore. And if you'd like to contact me, I'm on Twitter, Dr. Jordan Metzel, also on Facebook, Dr. Jordan Metzel, and my website, which is www.drjordanmetzel.com. And you can register and get my newsletter, which I think is hopefully pretty interesting. I do it 4 times a year, and would love to be in touch.
Doctor, in about 30 seconds or less, what would you like our listeners to walk away with from this interview?
I want them to recognize that exercise is the most powerful medicine across the spectrum of the human body, and that if I said, don't take your blood pressure medicine, don't take your insulin, you'd look at me like, hey, I'm on those medicines. What are you talking about? You're crazy. I want you to think about exercise as the same type of thing. It's a medicine you need every day that will not only make you healthier and live longer and less expensive, but it will reduce your need to take those other medicines. And so I think for all those reasons, I think exercise is the most powerful and best medicine, and I want people to take it every day of their lives.
Doctor, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Coming from a person who it is my personal goal to never take a prescription drug in my life, and so far so good. So I hope that our listeners will follow your advice, and really just 30 minutes a day. We can all spare 30 minutes. So thank you for being here and sharing this wonderful wisdom with us.
My pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
We'll be right back. It's time for Medical Minutes. Joining me today is Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who says that by eating the right foods, we can lose weight and prevent disease. Dr. Fuhrman is the author of the books Eat to Live, Eat for Health, and Disease-Proof Your Child. Hi, Dr. Fuhrman. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Joan. Great to be here.
Dr. Fuhrman, I read your books and I watched your PBS special, so I'm very happy that you're here to talk about your program and the research that you've conducted over the years.
I think that the success of Eat to Live and the PBS special, I think it shows that Americans have gotten so sick and so fed up with taking drugs and realizing it's not the answer. They've been led down a path of, medical and health tragedies. And I think they're ready to wake up to the realization that they can take control of their health destiny and do something. And the bottom line is that we can win the war on cancer. We can not have heart attacks and strokes, and that nutritional science has advanced so far today. And it's just imperative that Americans know this information.
So what is this program, and how does it differ from any other, and I hate to use the word diet, that people are utilizing to try to lose weight and maintain a healthier lifestyle?
Well, it's two basic issues here. One is based on the micronutrient density of food, and micronutrients are those food elements that do not contain calories, like vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals. And we've discovered, for example, that every strawberry has 700 different phytochemicals in it. Every piece of broccoli, more than 1,000 different phytochemicals. The point is that food is very rich in micronutrients, and when we achieve sufficient levels of these micronutrients in our tissues, it doesn't just protect us against cancer, but also these micronutrients induce weight loss. When you eat green vegetables, when you eat mushrooms, when you eat onions, when you eat berries, when you eat seeds, when you eat these foods, they contain certain phytochemicals that prevent the fat cells from being fed. Let me say that one more time. To sustain fat on your body, the fat has to grow red blood vessels into them. The blood vessels, in other words, has to grow into the fat and deliver nutrients and energy to the fat cells to sustain it and to grow. And those vessels can't grow into the fat. They won't sustain fat, they won't maintain fat, they won't allow fat to grow when you have sufficient amount of these angiogenesis inhibitors from these high-nutrient foods I'm talking about. It's no longer just calories in, calories out, and exercise more. I mean, the quality of what you eat is important. We can't just cut back on the quantity. We have to eat more nutritional quality because that's going to make you desire less food. That's one aspect. And the second aspect is as we eat foods that are low in nutrients, and the American diet is now 62% of calories from processed foods. Mm-hmm. And that's things like pasta and bread and salad oil and mayonnaise and donuts and cookies and rice cakes and breakfast bars and chips and soft drinks and candy. That as we eat foods that don't contain nutrients, the body builds up toxins. It builds up free radicals. Mm-hmm. It builds up AGEs. They're, of course, called advanced glycation end products, which accelerates the complications of diabetes and ages us and causes, sets the stage for cancer. We build up toxic waste products in our system, and these toxic waste products cause us to gain weight. They cause us to eat more food. When we try to stop eating, even for a couple of hours, we start to withdraw from those toxins as if we're shooting up with heroin or cocaine. We get shaky, we get weak, we get fatigued, we get headachy, we get stomach cramping. In other words, we feel ill the minute our digestive tract stops digesting food. It's almost as if the minute your level of caffeine dips, the middle level of heroin dips, or a little of your nicotine dips, you're driven to take more nicotine, to have another cigarette, to have another shot of heroin. Well, the same thing is with this processed food. The minute we try to stop eating it for a few hours, we get intense cravings and feel ill and discomfort if we don't put something in our mouth, get the digestive tract started again. So the second aspect is critically important to have people understand that food could be powerfully addicting, explains why people fail diets in the past, why they've given up, why they've thrown in the towel, why they've checked out, and why diets don't work for them. And when they have a comprehensive understanding of all these factors of why the drugs don't work, why they're potentially dangerous even to take the medications that you think are your saviors for blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. How food is more effective than drugs, how the food you've been eating created the overeating problem to begin with, and lastly, the fact that taste can be changed and learned, and that healthy foods can be made to taste great, and that you can have your health and eat it. You can have the best of both worlds. You can have great taste, more pleasure with eating, and control your health destiny. Not be overweight, not be sickly, not have high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, and like all other Americans eventually get. Fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds should be the major load of what people eat. Should be the major portion of their diet. Right now, the American diet is less than 5% of calories from produce, from unrefined fruits and vegetables. The 95% that it's the food they're eating is refined and processed foods, animal products, and white potato products like French fries and mashed potatoes. And that consumes 95% of the American diet. And we couldn't design a better cancer-causing diet, heart attack-causing diet, than we designed it we wanted it to kill people.
Dr. Fuhrman, someone's listening to you right now, and they're excited about what you're saying. What should their diet look like tomorrow? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. What types of foods do they need to incorporate to get started right now?
There's a few simple things I want them to do. Number one, I want them to eat a big salad every day and chew it very well. and I want them to use a healthy dressing on the salad that we make, like maybe mix. I'll give you an example. One might be blending oranges with raw cashews and toasted sesame seeds and some blood orange vinegar and lemon, make an incredibly delicious but healthy dressing. And almonds and fig vinegar or balsamic vinegar. In other words, we're actually using the nuts and seeds in the salad dressings because it facilitates the absorption of the phytochemicals, and it has protections against your heart. Put raw onions on the salad, or cabbage, or a little kale. That's even better. And the second thing is, once a week, I want people to make a giant pot of vegetable bean soup. And I want them to keep that soup in the refrigerator and take it to work with them for lunch, and have a bowl of vegetable bean soup every day and make it with onions and lots of mushrooms and maybe a carrot juice base, and put in broccoli rabe and leeks and zucchini and spices and all kinds of flavorings. In other words, I think if people did those few simple things, eat a lot of, like eat some berries and fruits for breakfast, have a salad once a day, have a soup once a day, have a big serving of steamed green vegetables every day, and remember what you said, the GOMS, the GOMBS, my anachronism for GOMBS, the most powerful anti-cancer foods: greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, berries, and seeds. Imagine if the whole United States started eating a big salad, a bowl of soup, and some GOMS every day. They would, get those foods into them every day. We would immediately see, cancer rates drop by 60 to 80%.
The book is Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. We'll be right back.
February is American Heart Month, a great time to decide to do something good for your heart. Hi, I'm Chef Todd, your healthy cooking expert. Health experts today recommend increasing your intake of omega-3 fatty acids as one way to decrease your risk of heart disease. Adding fish like tuna to your diet is a wonderful way to get the job done. Tuna is a fatty fish that provides high-quality protein, B vitamins, and selenium. When eaten in moderation, it can help reduce the risk of stroke, high blood pressure, and obesity. One of my favorite tuna recipes is grilled tuna with fresh tomato bruschetta because it's delicious, and it also includes heart-healthy tomatoes with lycopene. The first step is to make the bruschetta, which includes fresh garlic, parsley, green olives, onion, basil chiffonade, and seasonings. Next, grill the tuna until seared on both sides. Cook through about 5 to 6 minutes per side. Serve and top with 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato bruschetta on each steak. Serve with a lemon wedge and basil leaf. This easy-to-make recipe shows your heart some love. For the complete recipe, including nutritional information, visit cookingwithcheftodd.com.
We all want to live happy, productive lives, but sometimes we just need a little help. Our Coach on Call experts provide strategies to help you live your best life now. Joining me today is Carolyn Curtis, a certified image consultant and personal brand strategist from First Impression Style. Welcome, Carolyn. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Joan. It's great to be here.
Carolyn, you're not only an image consultant, but you're a certified personal brand strategist. What is personal branding, and why is it so important?
Personal branding is a way of communicating what differentiates you from everyone else. It's your values, your passions, your strengths, and your personal style. In business and in life, perception is everything. First impressions happen in a matter of seconds. That's why everything about you should say who you are and what you stand for. It's your unique promise of value. Personal branding is not about creating a false image for the outside world. It's about being authentic and delivering value to those around you.
So, Carolyn, what are the benefits of personal branding for an individual?
To enhance your visibility and your presence, both online and off, so that you get recognized as the expert in your field. So you can create a clear focus on your career or business, thus boosting your revenue, increasing your compensation because you're seen as an expert and you stand out. Thus, you're going to survive and thrive during economic downturns. You can charge a premium for your services, you can expand in new businesses, and you can reach your goals and increase your confidence.
So, Carolyn, personal branding, this seems to be the latest buzzword these days. How is the process that you follow unique?
It really is a buzzword these days, and there's a lot of folks saying that we'll do branding and personal branding. Now, really, I'm a certified personal brand strategist. I've gone through the process to be certified, and I use the very exclusive 360 Reach assessment tool. It's the first and leading web-based personal branding survey. It was developed by behavioral psychologists and branding experts. Really what it does is it provides a portrait of your professional reputation. One is that it's invaluable for ongoing professional and personal development. And then I follow a 3-step process, which is a structured methodology for building, communicating, and nurturing your personal brand. The process itself really measures your personal feedback as well as feedback from others, and it's all collected anonymously through the 360 Reach online tool, which you send out to friends, family, and associates and business people that you work with. The data is summarized into a report, and it lets you see how others are perceiving you with respect to your brand attributes, which are your personality characteristics, also your leadership competencies, your strengths, weaknesses, and your team roles. And then I guide you through the process and teach you how to apply these results to your real world and your virtual world, personal branding and communication activities, such as your online bio, for example, that you would use on your website or LinkedIn, other web presence, and your personal appearance.
Carolyn, tell us a little bit more about the process that you lead your clients through.
The 3-step process, and the first phase is the extract phase, the discovery phase, really unearthing your brand and identifying what makes you unique, or what we refer to as your unique promise of value. We do that using your 360 Reach results. And out of that, we develop your personal brand statement. Next, phase 2 is your express and communication phase. We want to communicate your brand to your target audience and craft a communications plan. And then 3, exude. When you want to exude this brand in everything you do and align it with what we call your brand environment, things like your office, your appearance, your networking activities, etc.
Carolyn, where can our listeners go to get more information about you and your work?
Oh, they could definitely go to my website and my blog at firstimpressionstyle.com. And for personal branding, they can click on the personal branding tab.
Carolyn, thank you so much for being with us today. Next month, we'll continue this topic when we discuss how to translate your personal brand into your signature style. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that this information is for educational purposes only and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.